So there's private prisons is a big deal in America. Gary Johnson, who's a libertarian, championed that when he was governor. Private prisons, I can't think of a more unbelievably disgusting, anti-human thing to do. Hey, how do you make your money? Locking people up. I lock them inside buildings and stuff for a living. I implement human torture for profit. Now, I understand it's a job. You got to do it. There's got to be a job. But to put it's like you're not supposed to make money off war. You shouldn't make money off that. But that's capitalism rules, and we have private prisons. So recently, the New York Times reported this. Privately run Mississippi prison called a scene of horror, and it's shut down. Get out. You mean without any state supervision? I mean, so they've done those experiments, the Stanford experiments where they took college kids. They told them they were going to be in an experiment and that they just randomly assigned some were guards, some were prisoners. And within like 24 hours, they started abusing them. Even they knew where they were an experiment and they're college kids. So you need a short leash, these prisons. So what happened inside a privately operated Mississippi prison that a federal judge once concluded was effectively run by gangs in collusion with corrupt prison guards closed Thursday. Its prisoners transferred to the other state facilities, officials said. Isn't that great? So criminal cops arrest people for being criminals, and then they put them in a criminal prison system run by other criminals. We have a corrupt criminal justice system in America, and everybody knows it, and nobody really cares. And now we're like, let's give it to some shysters to make money off it. Conditions at the prison, the Walnut Grove Correctional Facility, were deemed so substandard by Judge Carlton Reeves of Federal District Court that he wrote in a 2012 settlement order that it, quote, paints a picture of such horror as should be unrealized anywhere in the civilized world. That's happening in America, our superior culture. You know how the terrorists are animals? This is what we do in America. By the way, we lock up more people in China. We're the land of the free, home of the brave. We can't lock up enough of our poor people and brown people. We can't lock them up fast enough. We're in an oppressive society. We're so much better, our culture. Look, paints a picture of such horror as should be unrealized anywhere in the civilized world. Happening right here in America for money. The Mississippi Department of Corrections said in June that it had decided to shutter Walnut Grove, not because of the often unrestrained violence at the facility, but for budget cuts. Remember, Eric Garner got choked to death on the street in broad daylight for selling Lucy's.
And the guy who filmed him's going to jail.
And the guy who filmed him's in jail.
Yeah.
Yep. The 1,260 bed facility had been operating since 2012 under a federal consent decree for violating prisoners' constitutional rights. And in 2014, Walnut Grove was the scene of two major riots. Conditions in a number of Mississippi's correctional facilities have been denounced by prison overhaul advocates or enjoined by the federal authorities for violating inmates' constitutional rights. But Walnut Grove was cited as a particularly brutal and often lawless place. In 2012, the Justice Department report found that rape of younger inmates by older prisoners was relatively common. Guards habitually denied some prisoners access to medical care. Habitually denied medical care. Like a habit. While smuggling in weapons and drugs and having sexual relationship with others. Wow, isn't that what I'm talking about? Sounds like the Secret Service. We live in a corrupt culture. No one goes to jail. If you don't put Richard Nixon in jail, if you don't put the Iran-Contra people in jail, if you don't put the people who crashed our economy in jail and stuffed their pockets and were criminals who built a business on fraud, if you don't put people in jail who started an illegal war on a pack of lies, if you don't put people in jail who ordered war crimes, torture on a global scale, if you don't so power is corrupt and at every corner of this country, of our culture. That's why Bernie Sanders said we need a revolution. Our whole goddamn culture is corrupt.
You know, you could say this about any prison in the United States.
I have a feeling.
I mean, right now, even in state of California, I believe the capacity is at 300% in our jails.
Well, right now, they have the biggest prison strike going on right now. And that's another video we're going to do. So look for that. About yes. They literally have slave labor in America, and they're treating them horribly, and these guys are starting to strike. That's a different video. So they say this one. Some of the guards were themselves members of gangs, including at least one prison supervisor who let prisoners out of their cells to assault unsuspecting rivals. Kind of a Mad Max. They also organized gladiator-style fights between prisoners, and encouraged by guards were also a frequent occurrence, with guards betting on the outcomes, according to the report. So they'd set up like bum fights, but they're prisoner fights, and they'd bet on them. Like, just the lack of, there's just no humanity. I just immediately devolve into animals. Didn't I
see Paul Newman in that film, Cool Hand Luke, that is examining just this, the corruption within the prison systems?
At the same time, the neighboring town of Walnut Grove, population 1,900, boomed from prison revenue and employment. The town lobbied to be the site of a prison after its major employer, a glove factory, was closed. We make gloves, or we rape little kids, and we have a torture factory. We have a... Listen to this. Even after juveniles were removed from the facility, violence continued. There were juveniles there? Even after we got... Because it was the juveniles causing all the violence?
The weirdest...
What is that? That even makes sense.
Maybe they're saying they're the easiest victims.
Yeah.
I think that's what they mean.
Yeah. As an example of the close ties between the prison and the town of Walnut Grove's mayor, William Grady Sims, served for a time as the prison's warden. And in 2009, Mr. Sims drove a female inmate to a motel room where they had sex. He later told the woman to lie to investigators about it, and Mr. Sims was convicted and sentenced to 7 months in a federal prison. Why didn't they send him to that prison?
Yeah, put him in there.
Why didn't they put him in there and let the other gang members beat the crap out of him? Maybe rape him. So there you go. I think private prisons are a great idea. I don't want you to get the wrong idea. So that's our culture. That's just America. This is our culture. We imprison more people than the rest of the world. We have 5% of the world's population. We imprison 25% of the world's prisoners. We imprison more people than frickin' China. But we respect life. We respect life. That's why we're living in this culture we're living in. That's why cops can shoot you with impunity. That's why when you want to protest Wall Street, they crack your head open. They mace you, crack your head open. They corral you like animals. They make you kneel on concrete. That's what they did in L.A. They took the people protesting Wall Street, made them kneel in a parking garage on concrete for hours till they passed out or urinated on themselves. Oh, those people sued and they got paid millions of dollars. Nothing happened to those cops, and those millions of dollars came from our tax revenue. So we have this out-of-control culture, this out-of-control criminal justice system in America, and nobody really seems to be doing anything about it. So this is like stuff you would read in books or see in movies. Our whole goddamn culture is corrupt. And it all started with Jimmy Carter pardoning Richard Nixon. That might sound funny, but that is how it started. Now you don't have now powerful people aren't held accountable. Who pointed that out? Rachel Maddow
I think it was
pointed
Rachel
that out?
Maddow because it would divide the country and
Oh,
that
it would
we'd
divide
never
the
be able to
country.
bounce back from that.
And we've never gone on to prosecute anybody after that. You know, at least when the savings and loan crisis happened in the late 80s, they put a couple hundred bankers in jail.
Oh, I miss those days.
Now, nothing. I mean, did you see? Go watch the Netflix and get the Big Short. The whole business built on fraud. They defraud their own customers. They're still doing it. We just did another video. They had to fire 5,000 people from Wells Fargo. Anyway, the whole goddamn culture, I don't want to get off on banking. That's another thing. There you go, Mississippi. Superior culture we have.